President Trump addresses peace talks
But the biggest thing is they will not have a nuclear weapon.
over the G7 meeting in France, advocating for Florida's nature.
Everglades is such an interesting thing, right?
Our DC bureau covers the National Everglades Summit. And Father's Day spending trends are higher than ever.
People really want to celebrate the important people in their lives.
These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Dylan Pizet.
And I'm Julian Lascano. Today is Tuesday, June 16th, 2026.
Live from the Lee Caplin School of Journalism and Media in North Miami, this is Caplin News.
French President Emmanuel Macron held a bilateral meeting with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. As the host of the G7 meeting, Macron invited Zelensky to attend the sidelines of the gathering, hoping his presence could help shore up the group's support for Ukraine.
One of the key points of the meeting was to get the United States on board. A possible meeting between Zelensky and Trump was the first thing Macron spoke about as he greeted the Ukrainian leader inside the grounds of the Hotel Royale, where the summit is taking place.
But the biggest thing is they will not have a nuclear weapon. And that's the reason I got in, and that's the reason I agreed to sign.
Trump's official schedule does not include bilateral talks with Zelensky, but impromptu meetings can and often do happen at summits like this one. One of the most consequential past meetings between Trump and Zelensky was unscheduled and took place on the sidelines of Pope Francis' funeral in April last year.
Iranians and other protest the U.S.-Iran peace deal in Los Angeles. They want regime change and for the president to finish the job. They also criticized Iranian participation in the World Cup. CNN's Julia Vargas Jones reports.
Here outside Los Angeles Stadium, we're seeing this community come together, and those divisions become even more apparent as talks of a potential peace deal coming together in the coming weeks are emerging. We heard people here chanting that they don't want a peace deal, that in fact they want President Donald Trump. They're asking him by name to please finish the job. They want to see regime change in Iran, and they say none of this would have been worth it if that doesn't happen. That was the great hope that Iranians had here in Los Angeles for months. We've been following them since the beginning of this war, since the first airstrikes that killed the supreme leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei. We saw people celebrating in the streets. Here now, it's not just the war that's dividing this community. There's two more things. One of them is the soccer team. They say that these players did not speak up when they could have, when protests in the streets of Iran were taking place earlier this year, and that therefore these players don't deserve to be here, that they don't represent them. And then the third issue is the flag of Iran. Now, if you see around me, you see many of these, the lion and sun flag. That is not the official flag of the Islamic Republic of Iran, but it is a flag that has been come to represent the opposition to this government now, and it is a flag that has taken on political meaning, and activists here in Los Angeles say that they want to bring that inside the stadiums, bring these protests inside the stadiums so that the team themselves can hear their message. Julia Vargas Jones, CNN, Los Angeles.
The war in Ukraine stretches out this weekend as a missile struck near Moscow. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said it was time for the Moscow region to feel the full force of Ukraine's long-range missiles. The target was an oil refinery 500 kilometers away from the front lines.
And a terrible day in aviation as an Air Force B-52 bomber crashed, leaving all 8 crew members dead. The aircraft had an issue almost immediately after takeoff, bursting into flames and then crashing into the ground. The purpose of the flight was to test a radar upgrade. The B-52 was introduced in 1955, and its last radar upgrade came in the 1960s.
Edwards Air Force Base experienced a horrible tragedy, and we lost 8 great Americans. This was a mixed crew. This was a mixed crew of military, government civilians, and government contractors supporting this test mission.
The crash happened over the weekend and families were notified on Monday. The crash was described as unsurvivable by an Air Force personnel. And Florida Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart recently secured over $11 million for Everglades restoration. It was part of a long-term project involving FIU for the last 25 years.
Caplin's Danette Heredia actually spoke to FIU researchers to show how they're bridging the gap between university research and national policy.
Here at the Russell Senate Office Building in Washington, FIU's Institute of Environment traveled to D.C. to advocate for the Everglades during the National Everglades Summit. The Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan is a state and federal collaboration to protect Florida's most sensitive resource. Fueled by research across 19 universities, FIU is talking with Florida's congressional staff about the importance of funding their natural foundation.
Everglades is such an interesting thing, right? It's the world's biggest restoration program, and we're right in the middle of it, and it's Institute of Environment scientists who've been doing the basic science for that for 20 years. That's how the Institute was founded. We talked a lot about the tie with the Everglades and the Florida economy. We talked a lot about Biscayne Bay and water quality, ideas about South Florida's infrastructure not keeping up with a huge human population growth and demand. I think the best message for us as scientists, people from the Institute and FIU, is to just let them know who we are, put a face to a name.
The Everglades is considered Florida's backbone, powering its economy, tourism, water systems, and biodiversity. Because half of Florida was drained for development, its underwater systems were disrupted, leading to many issues including flooding and sinkholes. Researchers say the funds will help maintain the Everglades and help surrounding communities with flood control and access to water for 8 million residents. Reporting from Washington, D.C. for Caplin News, I'm Danette Heredia.
A Florida traffic stop turned into a hard seltzer headache for one Florida driver. The Florida Highway Patrol says a 33-year-old man was arrested for a DUI after driving over 90 miles per hour on Interstate 75 in Pasco County. Troopers say they found 34 open cans of White Claws inside the vehicle. Officials also say his blood alcohol content was more than twice the legal limit.
A new report shows Father's Day spending has reached high levels this year as families pay more for gifts, meals, and experiences. The National Retail Federation says Father's Day spending will hit a record of $27.9 billion with a B dollars this year. Shoppers are planning to spend an average of about $226 on gifts, cards, clothing, and special outings.
We're seeing a little bit more goods inflation than we saw last year, but we're talking about 1 or 2%. We've got a lot going on this summer. The World Cup is here, so there's lots of opportunities for those special outings that people want to take their dads on.
With the World Cup bringing in more events, more watch parties, experts say many families are choosing traditional experiences over gifts.
And pup to the rescue, a Wisconsin dog helped save the day after alerting owners to a neighbor in distress. The little dog named Lillian has alerted her owner of his own health issues multiple times before. What they didn't know was that Lillian's nose for help went beyond their own front door, and Lily had found their neighbor on the floor, hurt and unable to get up. The Fandras want to respect their neighbor's privacy, but say she was able to get to the hospital and has started on the path to recovery.
The Marlins had a big game against the Phillies. Let's hope they won.
That's still ahead, and so is this story.
We didn't sweep, but we cleaned up really quick.
New Yorkers are very excited about the Knicks' victory. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
Really use a new tablet. I just don't have the money.
Let me ask you something. Do you have a Pell Grant?
Yes.
You do know you can get a free tablet, right?
Did you say free?
Yeah, free. It's simple. And the application is done in the store.
I could really use a tablet.
Go get one. Another satisfied customer. Stop by Pantotech in the Graham Center at FIU MMC today to speak with one of our associates to get your free tablet.
Type 2 diabetes can have a big impact on your life. But how can it be prevented? Well, the first step is knowing if you have something called prediabetes. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
It still has not set in for some New Yorkers. What should have been a night of celebration for Knicks fans made a troubling turn in New York City.
Officials say thousands of fans took to the streets in honor of the team's first NBA championship in over 50 years, but then it turned violent as buses were set on fire. Police cars were damaged and dozens were arrested. Caplin News reporter Randy Moreira tells us more on what happened.
The New York Knicks greeted by exuberant fans as they arrived home Sunday after becoming the new NBA champions. The Knicks beating the San Antonio Spurs Saturday to win their first NBA title in more than half a century. Fans across the Big Apple erupted in celebration at the moment of victory. From Brooklyn to Central Park to Times Square and outside Madison Square Garden, the mood in New York was ecstatic after Saturday's win.
We didn't sweep, but we cleaned up really quick.
There's a joy here in this city, and there's a unity in this city that we haven't seen maybe since 9/11.
Fans flooded the streets after the big win, crowding into intersections with some climbing light poles and others getting on top of buses. But as the night progressed, the celebration turned chaotic, with 5 school buses set on fire in Times Square and 5 police cars damaged on 6th Avenue. After a trash fire was set in the street, mounted officers, their horses fitted with protective eye gear, made a line to move people out the roadway. Crowd control units gathering behind the mounted officers to disperse the crowds. The NYPD said dozens of people were arrested in connection with the game, on charges including assault on a police officer, criminal mischief, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest. 10 officers were injured. For Caplin News, I'm Randy Moreira.
The Miami Marlins were shut out by the Philadelphia Phillies Monday night, falling 7-0 at Citizens Ballpark. Phillies ace Zach Wheeler struck out 9 over 6 innings, while rookie Gabriel Rincones Jr. hit his first major home run. JT Realmuto also went deep for Philadelphia. The Marlins managed just 2 hits in the loss and will try to even the score in the series tonight. The final score is Marlins 0, Phillies 7. The Marlins will go on to play their next game in the series against Philadelphia today at 6:40 p.m. You're watching Newsbreak, and we are coming right back.
Radcliffe Art and Design Incubator is the velocity accompanying the fellow's rudder, as in a boat. Unless there is movement or action, the planned direction is of little consequence. We encourage the creative ideas into action, and from the experience of doing, we critically assess the feedback, adjust, and set out to rediscover the potentialities of an entrepreneurial mindset.
Stem is precise, no margin for error.
Dare to forget that. Dare to have fun with it. Get weird with it. Dare to send those old STEM theories flying past the neighbor's house into outer space. Dare to program something internet-breaking, record-breaking. Dare to blow their minds. Dare to learn the difference between sedimentary and metamorphic rock. Go find those rocks. Dare to keep daring. Dare to STEM. Check out She Can STEM to get started.
And that's all the time we have for Newsbreak. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Julian Lascano.
And I'm Dylan Bazay. And remember, you can get more news anytime at caplinnews.fiu.edu.